Now, a scout's guide to the zombie apocalypse.
What the hell is going on down there?
We're fine! Everything's under control!
The Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse is exactly the kind of movie you'd like to see on Halloween weekend. The thriller focuses on three buddies who have just joined the Boy Scouts, but are faced with a challenge when bloodthirsty ghouls invade their town. Joining us this morning with his review is our favorite zombie, Richard Crouse. You're not just any zombie. I'm reading that hat.
Zombold Trump.
Zombold Trump. Wow. Wow. You bring your A game to this show.
I'm going to build a wall and keep the zombies in.
I love it. I love it. Okay, I want to talk about your costume, but let's get to these movies first.
Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse is essentially truth in advertising. That's exactly what this movie is about. Three young Boy Scouts have to protect their town and the girl that they love from this biotech zombie plague that has invaded their town. And, you know, I'm not sure that Lord Baden-Powell would approve of everything that happens in this movie, but it's a fun movie if you're keen on zombie movies, keen on going to Saturday afternoon matinee zombie movies. It's meant for teenagers, although it's rated 18, so you have to, if you're under 18, you'll have to go with a parent. But it's a movie that has a real sweetness to it as well. So there's disembowelings and beheadings and all the stuff you expect to see in zombie movies, but the relationship between the three guys is kind of sweet, and that's what sells the movie. So it's 3 stars for me.
3 stars out of 5.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, how about Our Brand is Crisis? This is
a much different kind of movie.
Yeah.
This is if you don't want to take the kids to go see the Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, maybe something a little bit more adult for you is Our Brand is Crisis. This is Sandra Bullock. She plays a fixer, someone who steps in when campaigns aren't going very well and manipulates the media, does all the stuff that we know happens behind the scenes, but we don't really ever get it.
Trump the zombie.
Donald Trump
but
the
go
zombie.
on.
And she plays a character named Calamity Jane. She goes to Bolivia. There's a candidate there that's not doing very well. When she hits the ground, she finds out that her nemesis, a guy I think probably very loosely based on James Carville, played by Billy Bob Thornton, is there. And the movie is sort of their back and forth and how they can manipulate an election. Near the end, it takes a more earnest tone, suggesting like, hey, you know what? Be aware that every time you see an ad on television, every time you read an article in the newspaper, maybe you're being manipulated just a little bit to think a certain way. It's a 3-star movie for me, and I imagine that you'll be hearing more about this come Oscar time.
Oh, really?
I think
so. That's good to know. All right, how about Truth?
Truth is a movie based on a true story. It's so
it's a good title then.
It is. It's about journalism, so Truth, hopefully, you have that going for it as well. It's Robert Redford playing Dan Rather, Kate Blanchett playing Mary Mapes, who was his producer on 60 Minutes 2. They broke a lot of stories together, and then they tried to do a story about George Bush and, his family using influence so that he wouldn't have to go to Vietnam, and it backfired on them. It kind of blew up in their face when some of the documents that they had were brought into question. So this is her side of the story. It's based on Mary Mapes' actual book, and it really is kind of the movie about journalists as warriors, warriors for the truth. And it gets a little heavy-handed by times, but it's a fascinating story. And Redford, I mean, who do you get to play an icon? You bring in another icon,
sure.
and after a couple of minutes, you forget that you're watching Robert Redford, and it does feel like you're watching Dan Rather.
That's what happens with the great actors, isn't it? We have just a little time left, but Suffragette.
There's a noise that I hear in my head every time I go to kind of a dull historical movie, and it is the sound of my old history teacher, Mr. Parker, writing on the chalkboard, and the sound of chalk scratching against the chalkboard, and him saying, copy down all these notes, read chapter 3, and see me in the morning. That's the sound that I heard all the way through Suffragette. I felt like I was being sort of taught something rather than entertained. It's a timely, important story about the struggle for women's voting rights in England in the first part of the century. Great performances from Carey Mulligan, very small one from Meryl Streep, but it's a 2-star movie for me because while you'll be left impressed by the performances, less impressed by the movie itself.
All right, 2 stars. Thank you, Richard Crouse. Zombie Trump.
Zombold Trump.
I love it. Richard's new look is courtesy of makeup artist Zoe Robertson from College Makeup and Design. You can find a link to the school and Richard's reviews on our website.